What's up guys, it's Will here back again, and today we're going to count down 12 strategies that are going to help you build the perfect Hot Toys and 6 scale collection for you. Guys, before we get started, make sure to click that like button down below, click that subscribe button, and click that notification bell so you are notified when content goes live on this channel. That said, let's get strategizing. And just a disclaimer before we get started, this list is not exhaustive. There are many strategies that you can implement into your Hot Toys and 6 scale collecting methodology that can make you successful, that can make you find happiness, joy, and excitement in your collecting strategies. But for me, overall, these are the 12 that I think are most impactful, the 12 that I think will be impactful to other collectors. So I'm gonna keep it simple for this video and just do 12. That said, let's start with number 1. And we are gonna go 1 to 12. I think that's just gonna be simpler. So number 1 to me is to determine your space before you actually start making collectible purchases. The reason I say this is because this is a mistake that I and every other collector in existence has made since the beginning of time. We get excited, we see a figure that really grabs our attention, and then we really just start pre-ordering things left and right before we figure out, do we actually have room to display it? How is that gonna look with the other figures that we have? Is it a new collection? Is it gonna look great with the themes that we're trying to portray? And that's important. You wanna enjoy what you have, but you also wanna be able to show off and display what you have so you can share your passion with other people. And display is such an important part of the collecting process because you're able to showcase your collection to other people to show off, hey, here's what I've done. Here's how good this looks. You should think this is cool too. And a lot of people they'll flock to that. People will flock to what you're passionate about. And when you display it classy, professionally, they're gonna love it all the more, and so will you. So whip out that measuring tape, figure out how you're going to display the figures before you actually start buying a bunch of them. Maybe you could buy 1 or 2 here and there just to get started, but you don't wanna go too buck wild without figuring out how you're actually gonna display these things. And at number 2, we have organize your display by themes. This is a strategy that I've adopted in recent years because I think it makes a collection feel cohesive and thoughtful and considerate and polished, to be honest. I think it really looks good when you have a theme for every figure that you're displaying within that level of display. So for example, I have a Marvel shelf, I have a movies and TV shelf, I have a video game shelf, and I have a Star Wars shelf. All of them are in separate module cases. The figures are all together, and you can see that they all represent one universe or one cohesive theme. Having some sort of theme that brings sort of a uniting principle of the figures together, that's I think what really draws people's eye and is gonna make you feel a little more excited and confident in what you're displaying. And at number 3, we have don't be afraid to let things go. This is something that I see quite frequent in the collecting community, and again, everyone's a little bit different in how they want to approach this, but there are so many great figures coming out. Technology is advancing, innovation is occurring. There are so many great updates, 2.0s, reissues from Hot Toys and other companies where a new, better version of that character has been released, and collectors sometimes will hold on to the older version. To me, if you have a limited amount of space, we can't be afraid to let things go sometimes. Are you going to take an L financially? Probably, because the new one is going to be the priority for most collectors. But again, if you have a finite amount of space and you want the best version of the character that you can reasonably afford, then that's probably where you need to let the old one go and move on to the new one. And at number 4, we have upgrade sooner rather than later to avoid loss of funds. So think of it this way. When a new figure is announced and that version is now the shiny new toy that everyone wants, the older version is now therefore obsolete. So what do you do with that? Well, if you really want the new one and you decide I want to get the best version that I possibly can, then you'd want to move the old one as relatively quickly as possible. Just because the longer you wait, the more devalued that figure becomes because it becomes more and more obsolete by the day. So at that point, you still want to move it sooner rather than later to make sure that you can move on, take those funds, put it towards a new figure, and move forward with your collecting journey. And in number 5, we have take the time to get your figures in quality poses. This one is absolutely crucial because you're going to fall out of love with the figure faster if you have it in a pose that you're not happy with, because you're not going to feel like the figure represents the character and the lifelike aspects that it should, because it's not in a pose that really does that. So some people might think your pose is shit. Some people might think it's too museum or too character pose. Some might think it needs more dynamism. It really just depends. But at the end of the day, are you happy with the pose? Do you feel it iconically represents the character that you're trying to represent, and the pose that you're going for to represent the look of the character you want to represent? That is crucial. And to me, you gotta get something you're happy with, because if not, you're gonna fall out of love with the figure pretty fast. And in number 6, we have invest in quality lighting and display cases. This one I cannot stress enough. This is an absolutely integral part of building the perfect collection, because you have to display the perfect collection one way or another, and it won't be the perfect collection until you get your display game up. So there are multiple options for this. A lot of people will use IKEA DTOFs. They've gone up in price recently, but they're relatively affordable still, maybe like $100, $120 per DTOF. There are also Module Space cases. So Module Space cases, I have a link down below. All transparency, I do have an affiliate link with them, so if you want to use that, you can shop with them, and I do get a commission based on that. But I have modular cases, what you're seeing behind me, and I think overall they are amazing. They are the best display cases that I have personally ever seen, with the most quality lighting that I have ever seen for collectible figures and statues. So to me, that would be my recommendation. But again, everyone's free to do their own research and make their own judgments. But I will say display cases can make or break a collection. If you have something that looks a little more cluttered without quality lighting, you're not doing as much justice to the figures as you possibly could. So the wait times for these display cases can be longer. The prices can be a little bit high. However, we're investing so much in these figures, you have to invest probably an equal amount in your display cases to really honor the figures and display them properly. And at number 7, we have implement a strategy to select figures. This one is also a biggie because you have to be smart about what you're collecting. The story that I have always told is when I first started collecting, I had no strategy. I was like a dog chasing cars. I was going after any figure that grabbed my attention and pre-ordering it. It's like dropping an NRD. Oh, it's $25. I'll drop the NRD and I'll worry about the rest of the payment later. That can add up very quickly and can be very dangerous. I at one point had $15,000 in pre-orders that I didn't even realize necessarily because I was pre-ordering anything and everything that grabbed my attention. Again, this is a very dangerous strategy that can put you in a very serious financial hole if you're not careful. And in number 8, we have be patient and spend less so you can buy more. What I mean by this is that there's a lot of temptation to buy from Hong Kong resellers first batch, pay a premium to get the figure faster. This can be a dangerous game if you're doing this repeatedly because it stretches your budget. It allows you to actually buy less figures because you're spending more per figure than you probably should. There are many retailers out there that like Comic Concepts, Sideshow, 1/6 Kit, places like that, where you can pay very reasonable prices and get second or later batch, and then of course buy figures that you want at a more reasonable rate, and of course buy more figures so you can collect more and more wisely and build a larger display. You can have a bigger budget to do other things. You can take your date out to dinner instead of buying first batch. Now you spent $60 more on a figure than you really needed to. So be patient, think about your long-term collecting goals, and think about how you're going to be able to get more figures if you're just a little more patient. And at number 9, we have take a step back and deliberate before you order. This is a strategy that I have to remind myself of all the time because there's so much temptation. We want to make snap decisions. We want to pre-order fast. We want to be first in line to get that thing when it actually releases, that sometimes we overlook, do we actually want that thing? There are so many great figures coming out, many of which we don't even know that are going to be announced. And those anomalies that pop up, you got to have budget for those because when those pop up and you've already spent all your budget on something you really didn't want, now you're screwed. And at number 10, we have invest in other brands to diversify your collection. This is an important one to me, but not everyone is going to find this one valuable because if you're a huge Star Wars fan or a huge Marvel fan and you only want to have a Star Wars or Marvel collection, more power to you. That sounds great. It's your collection and you have the right to do with it whatever you please. But to me, a diverse collection just looks more appealing because you are not a simple person. You have multiple interests. You have multiple passion projects. And this is something that your collection can help represent for you. It can help showcase who you are, what you find valuable, what type of characters are interesting to you, what type of traits in those characters are compelling to you, and that is really cool. And also just the matter of display, the color pops on different types of displays and different types of figures, and there's plenty of other companies besides Hot Toys that offer some really great figures and some really cool, unique characters. And at number 11, we have order from reliable retailers, not risky ones. The definitions of reliable and risky are going to vary greatly from collector to collector based on their personal experiences with various shops. To me, of course, there are shops that I think pretty much most people have always had a good experience with, like the ones I've partnered with, Comic Concepts, 1/6 Kit, and of course there's Sideshow Collectibles, Pop Culture, other places like that. There's a lot of great places to buy Hot Toys and other figures from, but there are also a lot of risky ones that I think the community knows about, but sometimes they face that temptation of, oh, they're offering a really low and good price, maybe I should roll the dice and take that risk. But again, that's exactly what it is, a roll of the dice. You can do that if you're feeling compelled to do so, but if the dice roll doesn't work out in your favor, you have to be okay and be able to live with that. And at number 12, we have pre-order a Hot Toys figure only if you're certain you want it. If you've been around collecting the last several years, you can see that the changes are absolutely coming. Before, in the last couple years, you were able to not pre-order a figure, buy it for much cheaper on either the secondary market or from a retailer that was just discounting it for some sort of sale. But now things are waitlisting and selling out a little more quickly because these companies have realized we don't want all this dead stock. It's not healthy for our brands that we're carrying. So we're seeing things sell out and waitlist more quickly in order to combat that system and of course to incentivize pre-orders. That said, that doesn't mean you need to buy into that FOMO and fall fall for that and pre-order something that you really don't want because you're afraid you're going to miss it. This is something that is integral to your collecting long-term health. You got to be able to get things that you're really, really passionate about, things that you know that you want. And if you need to think about it a little bit longer, that's fine. You can think about it. And if it goes on wait list, you can always add yourself to the wait list. And if you really, really, really want it later, you can find it probably for a reasonable price. More often than not, it's not going to shoot up right away. So you'll be able to find it at release, maybe a little bit higher than retail. So you cost yourself a little bit of money, but it's better than costing yourself that guaranteed NRD that you're going to lose if and when you cancel it. And that's that, guys. Those are my 12 strategies to help you build the perfect Hot Toys and 6-scale collection for you. Of course, make sure to drop your comments and insights down below. What strategies have you found effective in your personal collecting journey that have helped you build the best collection that you possibly can? That said, let me know what you think of my strategies, whether they were helpful to you or not. Let me know what other types of content you want to see. And of course, as always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and click the notification bell for updates related to this channel. Hopefully this video and these strategies were helpful. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Guys, thank you so much. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out. See you later. Bye. Bye.